Happy Victoria Day.
Happy Victoria Day.
Should we go over why the War of 1812 was not won by the U.S.? Oh, yes. So there's two members of the podcast that have nothing to speak about. You could have been sick like me. You could have done that.
Just don't show up.
They're dressed in black. They are mourning the loss.
I like Tyson's look there.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. Oh, took my own ears out here as I'm doing this. So now I can
You get one wrapped around your head.
I do, don't I? This is not going how I planned it to be. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, Gary, you seem quite chipper considering you've jumped off the bandwagon and onto the other one.
I am embracing the future
as fast as possible. So, if you have anything to say,
these other guys look like they're trying to hide their identities, like they threw some jerseys on the ice last night.
And what appeared to be a beer.
I mean, they washed we shouldn't get too far ahead. They scraped the blood off the ice pretty quick. You'd think they could have cleaned the beer up a little bit better.
Yeah, there's no rush to get there. They left that right there. Well, I'm gonna say the big shot of Marner turning to the bench, red faced, with the whole wake the flip up, and I'm like, did you see? Yes, I believe it was flip. He said. And I was like, I think he has 3 shots on goal since game 5. He has no goals or points. And I was kind of like, and you're screaming that at the bench. You know? So I said it last year after I thought it would have been a good time to blow things up. Now, with the contract situation, I mean, there could potentially be a lot of money come July 1st. So where do they go from here? I really thought Tyson wasn't going to say anything the whole time. I really did. He's drinking an undisclosed beverage.
Is that where we want to go with this right now? Just look right to the future.
Well, if you guys want to talk about how we arrived, that's your call. That's up to you.
Do you want to relive any of that?
That's why I moved on to the future.
So we are round 2 is done. We know who our final 4 are. I think you guys would agree if we go all the way back to before round 1 when we talked. We're not real surprised if you look at our final 4 when you consider what we talked about. You know what I mean?
It's the
Dallas
same as last
being
year.
there. Yeah, well, Dallas being there, we talked about, well, if they get by Colorado or if Colorado gets by Dallas, we put Colorado in there. You know what I mean? That was kind of, and we also had an asterisk on Toronto, Florida, kind of like
whoever got
if Toronto can actually get by.
Last week when Jay wasn't here with us to keep us rational, all 3 of us chose Toronto.
Yes.
Oh, really? I didn't listen to the whole thing.
Well,
I wanted to hear to help me heal about the Avs at the time, but I didn't hear the optimism.
So I'd like to talk about every series a little bit if we can, but if we want to, Last night, I was pretty mad. I didn't sleep well, guys.
Hey, listen, I think you know what? We can do that. But, you can just vent. There's a lot of people listening to the show is going to be in the same boat, and they're going to want to commiserate together.
But like today, as I sit and bask in my
in your iced tea,
as I bask in my apple juice, it's so if we can take let's pretend you didn't watch the series. Just humor me.
I know where you're going with this.
If you told me last year, listen, the Leafs are going to go, they're going to win round 1 and 6, and they're going to take the defending Stanley Cup champions all the way to Game 7 in the second round, part of you'd be like, well, that's a pretty good year. It feels gross because of how they lost. That's what feels gross. They handed it to them Game 1. Florida, I will say, Florida plays their game. I'll be really curious tomorrow to see the list of Leafs injuries get reported or something. I wish we knew that now, because the list of Lightning injuries after they played Florida was mind-numbing. And Tkachuk said before Game 7 that I'm not worried. Our game plan is to slowly grind a team down over 7 games if necessary. We got this. That's what he said. And they hit, and they hit, and they hit. I have no idea how Tanev's walking.
Yeah, he took a lot of hits.
30 more hits than the second most hits anybody took in the playoffs. That's insane. But to beat them pretty handily, Toronto over Florida Game 1, and to not beat them as handily Game 2, but they were the better team Game 2. And then in Game 3, to lose in overtime on a real random, the puck deflected 4 times and then knuckle pucked up over Wall's shoulder. It was just one of the, I wasn't mad at it. It was one of those 50-50, hey, if it bounced that way for us, I'd take it. It was one of those.
But the issue I had with that game, they were up 3-1.
They were, but they were up 3-1. And they lost it in overtime on a bad bounce. And I'd argue, Phil, up until the bad bounce, they were actually low-key outplaying them in overtime, but they lost on a bad bounce. So they could have been up 3-0. Then to lose the next one, they did not look good. And all of a sudden it's 2-2. Then they come back, but they weren't bad. They just didn't look good. And then they come back to Toronto and get spanked. Just get destroyed. Embarrassingly bad. Fans are mad. You've now just lost 3 games in a row after you were up 2-0. It was so bad. Then you go back to Florida, and I'm kissing the season goodbye, and you shut them out.
Enter the most Leafy thing to do.
Yeah. Then come home in front of your home crowd to get spanked again.
Bingo.
After a 50-50, if you don't mind me saying, a 50-50 first period from what I saw, all Florida the first 10 minutes, and then Toronto controls the second 10 minutes.
That's what I said.
It's nothing.
I said, I feel pretty good.
And then second period, it just blows up on them again, and it's like they all quit. Now, the only thing that really kind of ticked me off, because my wife keeps reminding me, the players are people too. I can't imagine the media pressure in Toronto. If this is all you're seeing and all you're hearing, and they're booing their own players when they touch the puck. But Austin Matthews said something to the effect of, we had too many passengers along for the ride, and we weren't all on the same page. Dude, you had 5 shots on net and 1 goal this series. Do you know who our best 2 lines were? The bottom 2 lines were unreal. Lawton playing his guts out. Steve Lorentz could not play any harder, and I think our team MVP for a forward was Max Stinkin' Domi. Agreed?
Even taking the stupid penalties.
Even taking the dumb penalties. Yeah, but even that game where they got smoked, at least it was Hart, man. He took 24 minutes in penalties because it was all Hart, and he was fired up, and he was trying to do something. He was trying to fight anybody that would go, and he was pushing and shoving. And the rest of them, the camera pans to the bench, and there's our number 1 line sitting there staring off into space, It's the way they lost. Anyway, I'm pretty sure we saw Marner's last game in Toronto. I cannot see a world where that core is back next year. I can still see Tavares being back, by the way. I think if he takes a dramatic hometown discount. Like, pretend Tavares isn't Tavares and this core group isn't the core group. Like, Gary, if you're any other GM, if you have John Tavares willing to sign for 6 or less with his pedigree and how many goals a year he just had, do you not sign him? All day, right?
I take him.
Yeah, all day.
So my number was 5. So yes, 5 million.
So you make sense. So and part of me is like, I didn't know if 5 was too generous or not, but like you take that deal, right? Like that's
as the team, I do.
Yeah. Yeah. But Marner requesting 14. I don't think so. So unless there's some sort of dramatic,
I think the team would give Marner the contract if he wants it.
Let's stop for a second. Who was Marner's comparable? It was Mikko Rantanen, who is leading the league in points in the playoffs.
Yes,
is on a redemption tour for the ages.
Yep,
and has scored as many goals this playoffs, I think, as Marner has in the last
3.
Yeah, well, yeah, at least.
Who Marner refused his no trade clause for just a few months ago, and Rantanen could have been a leaf.
He could have been a leaf. Yeah.
So Marner leaves. Now what?
Well, I wanted to ask you, so I do want to talk about the other series because the Scheifele thing was really quite something. Yeah, so I really do. I don't want to do that a disservice, but I got daydreaming today over. So Tavares is a UFA. Marner is a UFA. Who else is a UFA, Phil? There was 3, I thought.
Oh, Leafs.
Oh, Lorenz is a UFA.
Leafs? Yeah.
Yeah, on Leafs.
Nice.
Then there's a couple RFAs.
Yeah, Nyes
is an RFA.
Nice.
There's like 6 players that are
Robertson.
not re-signed. And then who do you sign? My vote is you re-sign Tavares if he takes the hometown discount, because you're not going to find a veteran that still scores 30 plus goals a year for that money. You just won't.
The only thing I say about not signing Tavares, even if he does come at the 5 mil, is he's too much of a Austin Matthews like player. Like they need he's a first line center type player. They need like a second line, just something with a little different look. You know what I mean?
Well, Phil, if he's willing to sign for under 6, let's say you get him for 5.5 or 5. Is he insulted to become your third line center?
If you're going to go out on the free agent market and look for 35 goals, you're going to pay more than that. 9-10 million probably.
Yeah, like to go out in the free agent market and get a center that still scores that many goals. Yeah, you're going to pay.
Well, the only comparable on the market is Brock Nelson, and he's not even a year younger than Tavares anyway. So, and he's kind of the exact same thing as was a 1C in New York for a long time.
I would love
same boat
being a Leafs fan. I'd love to just let JT walk and then go after Sam Bennett, because he is up as a free agent this year. I know we just played him. He's
over my dead body.
Man, as a Leaf, you'd love him. Think about it. It'd be like if Brad Marchand came on. As a Leaf, you would love him.
I wouldn't piss on him to put out a fire right now.
Is he really? He's up this year?
Yeah, he is. Yeah. Jokes aside, he is. A couple months ago, that felt like the worst kept secret on the internet is that like he wants to play in Toronto, right?
Mm-hmm.
Was kind of like the worst kept secret. And like, anyway.
I just love how 2 months ago, scores that big goal for Canada. We all love him.
Yeah.
Marchand too, man.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I mean, though. Like we love.
But you know how it goes.
Yeah.
Everyone knows. Yeah.
Another
So
UFA this
Nyes
summer
is-
is Marchand.
Nyes is getting a huge raise.
Yes.
That's the thing, is you're
So
going to owe
that's
him
going
more
to eat
money.
up a big chunk of it.
What do you think he goes for? A 7?
I'd say in the 7s.
But the cap is also
you can
going
get
up
that. Yeah.
quite a lot too.
Yeah, but with that,
So
Yes.
the higher end players are going to get more. So
I think I saw some people saying if you keep Tavares at a discount, you sign Nyes in the 7s and Marner walks, you have about $16 million to spend on 2 players.
Which,
well, and the thing is, the free agent market is not that good this year.
That's what
So-
I'm wondering, even if you just go get one player and then keep the cap space to trade during the season.
Yep.
it wouldn't, jokes aside, Phil, me giving you a hard time, it would not shock me if they signed Bennett this summer.
like when I think second line centerman, that's who I think of right there. That.
He's so dirty, man.
That's what you need in the playoffs.
But it's dirty. It's not like when I was a kid, Darcy Tucker dirty. Darcy just played hard and hit. There was no like, oh, the ref's not looking, let's elbow someone in the back of the head. There was none of that nonsense. He was old crazy eyes and he threw the body around to the point of he didn't hurt himself. You know what I mean? But like, I don't know. He just feels different. Marchand's a different beast. I don't think he tries to hurt anybody. I think he desperately tries to get under your skin. Like you will throw a gasket. He's constantly chirping or hacking or, you know what I mean? And you'll end up losing your temper at him and he's good at it. But yeah, I don't know.
Somebody like Bennett who gets away with everything when they come to Toronto and suddenly can't get away with everything anymore. I always wonder how effective they're actually going to be at playing that style of game here.
Yep.
I was just looking at deals you guys can make, but you guys are in a similar boat that we are in. You guys have been traded. You have no first round picks
We got
until
Easton Cowan.
2028.
2028.
And yeah, there's seconds and thirds. But yeah.
So there is a world where Tree Living feels very handcuffed. And if Marner's willing to take a bit of a discount, you have to make the deal even though you want to go a different direction because I don't know what the alternative is.
The fear is with Marner walks, you don't even make the playoffs next year.
Yeah. Now, I will say, awful lot of good young guns at the Marlies that have not given them their fair shake because they can't crack the lineup. That maybe we'd be surprised. Like Abruzzese has not gotten a fair shake. He's been in the lineup like twice, I think. Like it's, you know what I mean? So there's a couple. Who else is still down there? Is Levo still down there? And
Now Levo's in Russia.
he's in Russia now. Yeah, he left.
But
Cowan will join the Marlies next year.
well,
and
he,
get some
he may
playing
make
time
the
there.
jump to the Leafs if Marner's not there. Because all of a sudden there's a roster spot open, right?
Man, he's so fast, but he's just not very big. You know what I mean? Like he's not a big guy.
Marner.
Well, here's I
Yeah.
think like with you, even if you let Marner walk, you don't need to replace him with like another top 6 guy. Like I'm just picking names out of a hat here. Jamie Benn is a UFA, right? Now I hate Jamie Benn with the fire of 1,000 suns, but he'd be a good fit. He's that kind of guy Phil is talking about. He's at $9.5 million. He is not going to make that now. He's older, 30, almost 36, but a pretty effective player. He plays on the third line in Dallas. But so you look at him, and then I'm just looking at other. Now maybe you take a chance on a guy like Brock Besser, who before the Canucks became what they became, looked like a pretty promising. He's 28, makes 6.6 million. So you take, that money and you spread it around, and then all of a sudden
Now,
you have more depth, right?
there is a world where, let's play GM. You re-sign Nyes. He stays on a line with Matthews. You get another center. You don't get another winger, and Nylander moves up with Matthews. And you have Nyes, Matthews, Nylander. But now you need another center with, Pacioretty's a free agent. So
Scott Lawton moves up.
Scott Lawton likely moves up. I'd re-sign Domi. I would extend Domi. He was at points the only guy with any heart on the ice.
Doesn't
Like
Domi
he can play like crap all year, and then the playoffs hit. And
You already got him locked up at
For-
3.75.
for how many?
One more year, I think, isn't he?
1 year left.
2028.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
no,
longer
he's
than I thought.
already locked up.
I thought he only signed a 2-year deal. But it must have been.
Me too.
Right on. You were saying about Jimmy.
There's also the
sorry.
also the crazy idea where you approach Marner. I don't know why he would want to do this, but you say, where would you like to go and try and do a sign and trade?
Yeah, like I can see to recoup a couple of assets for the rights to talk to him before July 1st or something like that.
Or like
But it's
Gary
like-
said, a sign and trade.
It's just that, yeah, I mean, it's just whatever the cost is to be able to get to him before he gets to market.
Yep.
But it just doesn't, yeah, I mean, I don't,
Not likely.
I think they'll get offers. I just don't know if, they're going to be low balls or whatever. But yeah, it's entirely possible. I just don't think he's going to stay. I think True Living is going to put his stamp. He's going to have money on the books. He's got his coach now. He's going to say the coach is not the plot problem. It's the players. It's not his contracts, except the Matthews one, because he kind of had to make that 5 minutes after taking the job.
Yep.
And I just think he's going to say, okay, we're going to change things now.
And that's going back to the Jamie Benn thing. I think Tree Living wanting to put his stamp on this thing, if he had $5 million to play with, say, for that John Tavares contract, I think I would sooner throw $5 million at Jimmy Benn and say, hey, you want this contract because we know he can play that third line center where we don't know if JT can do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I can see him being creative and doing things like that.
Well, Jamie Benn is the type of guy that Tree Living loves too. He loves those types. That's why your point about like Sam Bennett is entirely plausible.
I'm actually wondering right now if Trey Living's time in Calgary, if he had Sam Bennett there.
He would. Yeah, he would have actually. He would have.
Now, there is a world this summer where Marchand signs as a Leaf.
I don't think he would.
I'm fully convinced that they worked this all out in advance and he's going back to Boston.
Really? Are you serious though?
He grew up. He grew up a Leafs fan. He's very openly.
I got the total opposite. I feel like the Bruins are dead to him now. That's the sense I got. I thought he was.
That's what I thought too. And
unless it's all part of a show, I don't know.
He is very open in interviews that he was a Leafs fan all through his childhood and loves to play against them because they were his childhood team. And
yeah, but is Crosby going to the Habs?
No, but I know what you're saying, but Marchand already left.
I know that, but he had a chance to go to the Leafs and he said no himself. So
yeah, I don't know.
I guess it's different. It's different with Crosby. Like he has won 3 Stanley Cups. I feel like loyalty to the Penguins is the only thing on his radar.
Yeah, I don't think Marchand said no when it was to go from Boston to Toronto. Now he's in Florida and his contract runs up in a month and a half. I don't know if that's a different beast this summer or not.
Yeah,
I do think there's this aspect with your childhood team. Like we say, like Bedard in Chicago, and for a kid, he's old school. He could stay there 15 years, but is there this aspect where the Canucks were his childhood team? And if the opportunity arises, does he go to Vancouver? Like JT went to Toronto when the opportunity arose. Like, my childhood team wants me, I'll go.
we don't got to worry about Austin Matthews.
No, no, we don't. But hear me out. Is there this aspect, and mind you, I'm not a player by any means, but is there this aspect of Toronto's a different market in that it's been since 1967. Every player who grew up a Leafs fan and a coach in any way associated with the Leafs ever want to be the ones to get it done. They will be like immortalized in Toronto if they're the ones to get it done. And I think that's the only reason, despite all the media and the bad fans and all this stuff and everything, that it's still enticing. Who doesn't want that title to be the coach or the captain that actually gets her done? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's very enticing, I think. Not much more enticing than probably like if you were a Montreal, like they won in 93. That's getting farther and farther out. But to be that coach and that captain, the further 93 gets away, to get another one for that city, like you know what I mean? Like, anyway.
Yeah. And I think people have gone there to do that for sure.
But it's not,
I think after seeing Game 5 and Game 7, though, you're going to have to roll out the dollar bills to bring any superstars into Toronto.
Well, without significant changes.
Yeah.
Like without a big overhaul of,
Yeah. I think so too.
And like, what else do? You did your goaltending, you did your defense, you've tinkered with the bottom six every year. Like, it has to be.
Well, Phil, I
look
gave
up
a list
to the ceiling at Shanahan.
Yeah, honestly, you need to start looking up a little bit.
Yeah.
Shanny's been there through this entire mess. And then, Phil, I gave just today a short list of players who I'm not mad at, whether or not they have a contract for next year or not.
Mm-hmm.
I am not mad at Scott Laughton. I'm not mad at Domi. Sabone Benoit played his guts out.
Mm-hmm.
Jake McCabe is a trooper, man.
All
Tanev,
60, man.
I can't say enough about Chris Tanev. They all played their guts out, and Morgan Riley showed up for this whole playoff.
Yeah.
I don't care what anybody says.
All 60 men were great. They really were.
Like, they were unreal. Say what you want about JT. Right up until the end last night, he was showing heart and he was trying.
Mm-hmm.
You could tell by the intense look on his face, like the game wasn't over till it was over to him, while other players just looked defeated. And everybody else, maybe aside from like Steve Lorentz, like that was a weird thing to watch. Like, that was strange. Like, the Lorentz tried right to the bitter end too. But like,
I'm a little bit torn there because the blue line looked so strong and steady the whole time. But at the same time, I'm kind of thinking, wouldn't it be nice to have somebody who could grab the puck and do something with it instead of just flipping it out?
Well, Gary, that's the only thing is
who
it's
would you
the
get
best
rid of?
blue line we've had in a long time, but they don't have a Makar.
No.
They don't have one.
Well, like I can't believe we've made it this far, and we've not talked about also getting rid of Riley.
You shut your dirty little mouth.
I don't know what that guy did to help the Leafs in this series at any point. I'm just saying. I just watch what he's doing.
Well, can I
know what he's doing.
asterisk that? He always gets back. He has one more goal than Austin Matthews did in the series. And he's on the blue line. Tell me when I'm telling lies on that one. Yeah, there was one game early that he had a 3-point game, but like so last night there was a moment, and I didn't get to watch the whole thing last night, but like it's 3-0 Florida, and they're about to shoot again, and he sprawls out desperately on his belly and pokes that puck away again. And it was like in that one moment, I'm not kidding, I had this thought last night, I'm sitting there and I'm like, in that one moment, I'm like, keep him. On one play, I know that might seem dumb, but it was like this instant, I can see the look on people's faces. Marner's yelling at the bench, and there's Riley, even though it's 3-0, sprawling. Could get hit in the face with the puck, but he's going to stop that. But you know what I mean? Like, it was just kind of like, as the year went on, he looked so bad the first of the year. Oh my gosh, guys. And as the year went on, I found he looked a little bit better, but like the heart he had, especially against Ottawa, finally showed up. Like he was looking very good against Ottawa. Hard pressed to find a Leaf that looked good against Florida. So
he didn't look great on the first goal last night. But.
No. Well, I mean, and like, it like when I watched,
Carlo didn't help him look any better when he kind of backed off completely to take the pass away. And
that's I blamed Carlo more for that, Gary, than I did.
But it's bad reads on those pinches that I feel like you always see. And yeah, that's what stands out.
But I mean, if you had the opportunity, and they're rare, to get a Quinn Hughes or a Cale Makar, that would be the only way. And I'm not even saying those two. I'm just saying if the new up and coming guy was comparable to those two, or they could turn into that would be the only way my heart could sit with getting rid of Morgan. Does that make sense? And so Jay, you watch Colorado and we watch Toronto all the time. Even the behind the scenes videos and the stuff in the locker room and everything. He's one of those guys that like he's the heart and soul of the team a little bit. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know whether you really abandon ship and you. I don't know. It's for tree living to.
So as far as I'm just looking at. He as far as expected goal share as per natural stat trick through both series, he was the best defenseman. But as a best defenseman, he was still at 48%. He was still on the ice for more expected goals against than he was for, and he was
despite being the best
at 5-on-5. So I'll give him that for sure. But yeah, I mean, I look at like, and it is hard for me because Colorado's defense is built completely different. They even have a couple, like they have all of the puck carriers, and it's not names that you know of, but like Sam Girard statistically leads zone exits. He's at the top 5 every season, carries the puck out, beats the forechecker, carries him out. They got Sam Maletsky. He's on the third pair. Doesn't put up a lot of points. Guy they signed from college. Constantly getting the puck. They never off the glass and out ever. So I'm a little biased because that's not the way they do it. They find guys to do that. But like, and that's the thing is like, when I look at it, the forwards are always the ones trying to break through, especially against Florida, we'll say. The forwards are the ones, they're trying to do all the work, either in the neutral zone or getting into the offensive zone.
Yep.
And they're getting passes broken up and they're trying to work between each other. And I don't see the defense doing anything other than giving it to a forward and then just standing back and waiting for his own entry. And
the dreaded back pass while the forward gets speed to pick it up through the neutral zone and then try to carry it in. And then if it doesn't work, dump it to a wing where they dump it anyway.
Yeah. And like, and again, I'm used to like a coach that gives the green light to the defense to say, if you've got a lane, you carry that you can carry it right in the zone if you want. It is because you jumping up in the rush gives us like an odd man advantage where we got an extra pass possibly because you're carrying it up. And I just look at the forward group And like, yes, does William Nylander get a million breakaways? He does. But it's like, do you really need to be relying on that all the time? I mean,
Well,
like getting the puck to the
you
forwards.
shouldn't have to rely on it. It
Yeah,
should
and
be
it
a
just when I
bonus.
watch them, I try like getting the puck to the forwards in an advantageous area seems very difficult. And it's to your point. It's now the defense, like they actually scored. They scored more than they normally do, but that's with established offensive zone. You know what I mean? Like you're getting guys pinching down the wall. That's cool. You're getting shots from the point that are getting through. That's cool. But the transition and the way to beat a team like Florida who just forechecks you, and if you don't win the board battle, that's it. You're just done on that shift. I just don't like the defense. I think needs to be more active in that area.
Yep.
And if Morgan Riley is leading the way on that, that's just not his strength.
No.
So yeah, that totally valid point talking about, I think, the defense that way. Despite the offensive output, this year.
New puck carrying D-man, Simone Benoit.
Yeah.
So
I wouldn't be surprised. I talked about Sam Girard. I would not be surprised if his name comes up again in trade rumors, because he carries a cap hit of $5 million and he doesn't produce a lot of points, and he's always been on it for the last couple of years. I have a funny feeling this might be the year they move him. But for a team that is looking for that type of puck carrying, skating defenseman who's not a top pair, second pair kind of guy, like I think there'd be a lot of teams lining up for him. So I don't know. I just suspect this could be the offseason he goes, and you might even hear rumors about him going to Toronto.
Kind of small to be a Brad Treliving guy, but
He is not. He's very small, and he does these tornado moves at the blue lines to avoid checks all the time, and it's really fun to watch, except when he screws it up. But anyway,
we're used to Toronto's used to watching guys try to avoid checks. So,
but yeah, it's interesting you say that. I kind of thought the same, but like I say, I always don't know if I'm just biased because it's a very different philosophy on the back end. But it does lead to a lot of offense.
Now, in game one, though, I did notice, like, when Stolarz went out to play the puck, he would actually make plays with the puck and move the puck past the forecheckers and stuff, almost like a third D-man.
Right? Right?
Which is
Gary,
the other option.
You took the words right out of my mouth.
That's like Jordan Binnington stuff.
Because that is something that they were missing. Because he's underrated for that. He'll pass all the way up to the center line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wall's okay with the puck, but he just stops it and moves it over to the corner to the defenseman who already has two people coming down on him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
That being said, though, I don't think Wall lost them the series or anything like that.
No.
Like, I mean, he did what he had to do. He kept them in it. Like, especially last night, that first 10 minutes, holy smokes, man. It could have been 4-0 the first 10 minutes of that game. Like,
Yep.
It was wild there. The ambush that the Panthers came out.
There was one weakish one. But I think
it was the fourth one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Is that the one you're going to...
Yeah, but I mean, when
games.
you've already taken 30 shots and you're still in the second...
When you're down 3-1 or
3-0
and playing like that, like the game's gone, right?
It was just tough. Yeah, I know. That was the tough one because Domi had just scored and it was 3-1. And you're like, okay, well, And I think it was 47 seconds after. He's not sealed up against the post and it's in. And you're like, oh, man.
And that was actually the sinker. Because when Domi scores, there's over 17 minutes left. And I was like, well, actually, they don't need 4. They need 2.
Doable.
They need 2 to get it to overtime. It's doable.
Yeah.
And nope. So,
well, let's park a few minutes if we can on the remaining series. Is there even remaining series? Gary would say there is, judged by his he's jumped ship completely.
Here, Gary.
I see that orange drink.
So let's stay in the East for a second. Florida, Carolina. Didn't
watch a bit of it.
Watch what?
I didn't watch a bit of it.
Carolina, Washington?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Oh, you mean series that are done now? Oh, I was talking about the ones coming up.
The ones
I guess
coming up.
Yeah. No, I didn't. I was just thinking this is about the time that Carolina hits the wall. Their offense fails. Their goaltending is bad. The big thing is the offense failing because I feel like they're going to lose fairly quickly. And I know we always talk about the Hurricanes being favorites every year. They've been to the playoffs a lot. They've been to the Eastern Conference Final a lot. But they get to this point in the Rod Brindamore system of like everybody just shoot all the time, shots everywhere, shoot all the shots, shoot. I don't care who you are, just shoot it. Shoot all the time. That's the Carolina's catchphrase. And it gets to the playoffs, and you look at how a team like Florida in playoff mode blocks shots, gets in front of everything, jams that all up. And I predict this is going to be another, falling flat series for it. They also don't have Martin Necas anymore.
No.
They don't have Mikko Rantanen anymore.
Nope.
And they had a pretty good third line center in Jack Drury. They don't have him anymore. So Eric Tulsky, leading up to the deadline, made them worse. And they've had a pretty easy road to this point. And I think I don't know. I predict Florida in 5.
I was going to say 6.
I'm thinking 6.
Unless there's some magic in the air and this Mikko Rantanen revenge tour somehow brings them into the finals to meet him.
Yeah. Which would be a good story.
Yeah.
That would be a great story.
It's one of those things where I'd love to be wrong. Like, I'd love for Carolina to upset Florida. My gut just isn't. There was 2 series in this whole playoff. One was round 1, one was round 2, and I know you'll know what I mean. I said, if Dallas gets by Colorado, they beat Winnipeg. If Colorado gets by Dallas, they beat Winnipeg. I just felt like Winnipeg's going to go through, and it's going to be Colorado or Dallas waiting for them. And I felt the same about Carolina the whole time, that whoever won the Toronto-Florida series didn't matter. They're going to get by Carolina. And I think if Toronto moved on, they have Carolina, just like I think Florida has Carolina in 5 or 6. I just do.
Yeah.
And I feel very similar about it, kind of like whoever got by who was going to get the next team. But again, that's this playoff. I don't want to go on a deep dive, but that's the playoff format a little bit too, right? Like there's already
there's history of this happening.
Yeah.
And we have almost the same Final Four that we did last year.
Yep. Yeah. And it's part of it is the playoff.
It is the same.
Yeah, literally, because you literally have first round matchups that should have been second or third round matchups. And so big cup contenders are already gone in 6 and 7 game series.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like Toronto and Florida went 7 games, despite how we feel about how Toronto lost. It went 7 games against the defending champs. Colorado, Dallas. Winnipeg even to get there, right?
Yeah.
Like it's just like those series already happened. The exciting ones happened, and now we're like, yeah, Florida in 5.
And even like not to forget about the Oilers, but like they beat the Kings. They just always do. They have for 4 years in a row. Speaking to your point about playoff format,
and because the Kings can't escape them because of the divisions,
right. And
we feel for them as Toronto.
And
we can't get to Florida.
Yep. And Oilers have beaten Vegas before. Vegas couldn't score in this.
I will say beat them in less games than I thought.
Yes.
I will say that about the
I thought that was going
Oilers. Yeah.
Well, I think if like I think if Pickard hadn't have stepped in and just for whatever reason decided to steal the show, maybe it does. But he really stonewalled the Golden Knights in that series.
Yeah,
and I think Vegas played them pretty well from what I saw. It was just they couldn't get a goal. But yeah, so and we've seen this last year now, right? We've seen Dallas and Edmonton last year, and now with
I think that goes
Dallas having Heiskanen back, Robertson back. What's that?
I think that goes 7 now.
Well, they're like whether it's Skinner or Pickard, they're going to get scored on a lot because Dallas just they have a rush attack with Rupe Hintz on the ice and now Heiskanen. They have a very dangerous rush attack, but they're a two-headed monster because if that's not working, they will throw it behind the goal line and pulverize you into a powder and have 7 or 8 attempts off of rebounds right in front of the net. And one guy will slide it in the net. And they are one of the best in the league at that, like high danger stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we saw this last year and Edmonton handled it and they did it in 6 and moved on. So,
and Ekholm was back in practice today.
And yep, and I saw he was back. I don't know what his timeline is, but
their defense without him scares me a little bit when you're talking about all that pressure down by the blue line.
Yep. Not Bouchard's
not
best skill set defending that stuff. So they've got a tall task handling that for sure. I guess that is us talking about the West now, but yeah, I do think that'll go 6 or 7.
I think it's going to go 7. I'd be surprised if it doesn't. Now, who wins?
I just don't know about the goaltending.
Yeah.
I just don't know.
Which Skinner do you get?
Yep.
But that being said, like Ottinger, man, he can go cold sometimes too, right? And he can have a night where he lets in.
Yeah. Unfortunately, not at the right time, but yep.
I'm not going to lie to you. I love Ottinger.
Yeah?
I would take him in a heartbeat. It's even his style. Like there's just something, I don't know. It's just.
He's like a big Joseph Wall.
Yeah, he's a bigger. Honestly, no, that's fair. He plays like Joseph Wall, but he's bigger than him.
Mm-hmm.
The thing about him is his game never changes. He doesn't he doesn't really let the game affect the way he plays. And that's what I find about him. Like even if he's not having his best game, he still makes.
Yeah.
He makes the right reads all the time. He's in the right place all the time. He's not the smallest goalie, not the biggest goalie, but yeah, I mean and I feel like there's still some hesitation. Like he had that playoff run where he came in and got them all the way to the Stanley Cup final.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I think people have been kind of hesitant to call him the clear number 1, and it's like, I think it's pretty established now that they got a good goalie. They have done unbelievable drafting for being a team as good as they are. To have Rupe Hintz, Thomas Harley, they had Logan Stankoven, Wyatt Johnston, Jake Ottinger,
Robertson.
Jason, like unbelievable. But it's guys they've drafted being good. It's like I don't think they get enough credit for how much homegrown talent they have,
and able to sign and keep all of them.
Yeah, but
for now,
Well, you look at they don't have Jason Robertson. Well, now with Rantanen, that's not the case anymore. But up until Rantanen, they didn't have the bona fide superstar. They were the model of build a team on depth, have 3 lines that we can put out equally that are all good. Did they have the elite sniper? No. Well, now they do, and that's a thing now that I was curious with, because Rantanen is now going to be their biggest paid player. He's going to get he's taking a chunk out of that cap. They had sub $10 million players for a long time, and even Heiskanen, right? You talk about Heiskanen he's a top D-man in the league, and he is, but he doesn't score a lot of points, so his contracts is not huge. So they have all these like guys that are really good players, but they're never going to be in the Art Ross race. They're never going to be in any of those conversations. But
they also,
holy cow,
they also don't pay taxes on their salary,
and they're
so
yeah. So there's that percentage.
It does help. I'm sorry, but
it does. Same as Tampa
it's not
Bay.
going to come up at all if it's a Florida-Dallas final. Nobody's going to talk about it.
Nope.
Listen, a couple of weeks ago, and then I think we should talk about. I'm watching the clock. We haven't talked about the Jets, but Elliot Friedman did bring it up that the GMs are actually entertaining discussions of, is there some sort of subsidy in the form of employment salary? Kind of like we can't help that, like an Austin Matthews gets taxed in Ontario. There's nothing we can do about that. And you can't, but could they subsidize the team somehow in the amount that the players are being taxed?
To make it so it's not it's
minus the league average or whatever, because other teams get taxed too. They just don't get taxed as bad.
Mm-hmm.
And then some teams pay none, but their property tax and insurance is through the roof in those states.
Mm-hmm.
You're just trading problems, but there is an asterisk there. Like, you know what I mean? Like Tkachuk makes less a year than Matthews does, but he clears more.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like that, it just is what it is. So you could sign somewhere for less, but clear more.
Yep.
Like it's a pretty wild. So I don't know how that would work. But anyway, I'm only bringing that up. Elliot Friedman brought it up that they actually are exploring, like, how would that work? Because every time I pay the player more, they get taxed again.
I heard Chris Johnson.
So how do I equal it out?
I heard Chris Johnson talking about this too, and one of the ideas that they talked about is they throw the money back into revenue sharing just to help boost the whole economics of the league and all that stuff. Like every player pays the same tax no matter what where he plays, and then the ones that pay the added money, it goes back into revenue sharing for the league, kind of like the escrow.
Gotcha.
But
so if Matthews is paying 20%, and Tkachuk's paying none, he's still going to pay 20. Yeah, it's going to go into revenue sharing.
Johnson didn't know if there was any traction on it or anything like that. It was just ideas that they were like basically spitballing off the wall.
Now, would the NHLPA have an absolute cow?
Well, that's the thing.
If it's like, so you're taking money off my pay?
It depends who's paying it. Is it the owners paying it or the players?
It would have to be negotiated in the next CBA. And that would with giving or with taking someone the other side would have to give some, right, or vice versa.
Yeah. And it is complicated because, like, Jeremy, I know what you mean with, like, are the owners paying it or the players? But the owners are paying more taxes in those cities too.
Yeah.
So it's a very complicated.
Yeah, and if that's the case, then they should make they equal across the playing field, right? Every owner pays a tax as well, and it go into that same pot.
Yeah, I don't know how that would work, but like they are starting to acknowledge, like if you're Florida or Tampa, you don't even want to have this conversation.
No.
Why would you?
Nope. Exactly.
But it's not. It has nothing to do with cap space. It has everything to do with players have little to no desire to sign in.
Well, it does.
Even New York, right? New York, they pay taxes. So both New York teams, New Jersey, Buffalo, Toronto, Montreal, Winnipeg, Calgary, Vancouver.
Well, it does.
You know what I mean? There, you're just going to pay me $3 million more.
It does affect cap space, though, Tice, because look at Brad Marchand, for instance. He's down in Florida right now making, what is he making? $9 million, we'll say. If he was in Toronto,
Boston retained some, but yeah.
If he was in Toronto making $9 million, he's making less money in his pocket, right? So if he resigns, he's going to have to ask for more, which eats up more of Toronto's cap. So it does.
Well, that's what I mean. Like there is this world where, like Jeremy keeps talking about comparables. So when you re-sign Austin Matthews in 5 years, and you look at, okay, so who's out there comparable to what they're making now? Well, this is what this player is getting paid that does maybe Jeremy at the time, 5 years from now, they'll be like, well, this is what Rantanen's getting in Dallas. Yes, Rantanen doesn't pay taxes. So like you can sign me for the same that Rantanen's getting, but I'm not going to end up getting what Rantanen's getting.
Yeah.
So like I just don't know how they balance that out, because it's this world where, well, why did he get more? Well, he got more because he's getting taxed, and I wanted him to get the same as Rantanen.
Yeah.
Cool. Now he's traded, right?
Now,
to Dallas, where the contract follows him, and now he doesn't pay taxes.
But to flip this again,
Like
all players get paid US dollars. So
yes.
playing in a Canadian market, getting paid US dollars, your money is worth more. So there is that too.
There is that, but it's still not the same as...
No.
It's like 28.5% or something. Austin's getting taxed.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Holy lifting.
John Tavares has been running from the tax man now for several years.
Yeah. It's a wonder. It's a wonder he's allowed to play in the States.
There's actually articles about that too. Like, it's no secret. That's known news.
No, and I'm glad he's fighting it, because I read up on it, and I honestly think he's in the right. Like, that's a wild... You want me to pay taxes for a time that I was signed in Toronto but living in New York trying to move my family? Like, it's kind of a wild... Wasn't even in the country, but you want him to... Yeah, there's a whole... And then part of me gets it. You're signed to a Canadian organization, but anyway.
Well, the amulet wasn't any help for that.
No, I don't think he had the Russell Brand amulet yet.
That's why. Oh, no wonder. Look what happens.
Yep. So we'd be remiss not to talk about that Jets final outing with Scheifele. That was
tough.
That was tough. That was a tearjerker for sure.
Definitely. Man, hats off to the Dallas organization though too. Like, coming on board. Like, there was reports that the owner flew Scheifele back to Winnipeg in his own private jet, just so Scheifele could be with his family early in the morning, and then they got him back.
There was someone too that started a 55 for 55
Yeah.
charity or something too, and
donate $55.
that's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, and that was all done by Dallas people, like not Winnipeg.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool.
No, that was a class act for sure. I had heard that, because the team is going to be there for another 24 hours, and they're on the team jet, and so the Dallas owner, like, let's get you with your family. So first thing in the morning, that was a class act.
Yeah, and then got him back in time for the game.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Dallas is so great. I get it. Oh yeah, yay Dallas! Ooh, let's give them a Stanley Cup. They're so great.
Hey, I didn't say that.
No, I'm just.
I didn't say that.
Give Rantanen the Conn Smythe now.
Yeah, give him the yeah, give him the Conn Smythe. That's right,
Jeremy. I'm sure Colorado would have flown him home too.
Oh dear.
Joe Sakic would have personally drove him up on his snowmobile.
Yeah, but that was, pretty tough. That shot of him in the bench in the penalty, because he took the penalty, and that's Dallas scored on the penalty he took, and you see him in the bench looking down. It's just like, oh my goodness, just insane. I still understand the severity of it. I get it. You know, I was still surprised that he played, because from what I understand, it was pretty sudden.
Yeah.
And not, unexpected.
Yeah.
And he still played, and I just couldn't.
And you're talking like he finds out 3 hours before he has to be at the rink.
Yeah.
That is it's impressive.
It's pretty wild.
And I think, if you don't mind me saying, it's uniquely hockey as well.
Yeah.
I think.
He went out and scored a goal. Open the game.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, that's right. So it's too bad. I mean, we could do a whole other hour on like the Jets. Like what are they supposed to, what do they do? What do you do?
They're the league of the West.
The guy, you get the runaway Vezina winning goaltender who completely disappears in the playoffs.
Road play.
can you can you remember a goalie just being that Jekyll and Hyde between the postseason and the regular season?
Ilya Samsonov.
Yeah, but Samsonov wasn't a Vezina.
Samsonov was also the opposite. He was terrible in the regular season, and when the playoffs hit, it was like, whoa, Sammy.
Yeah.
Like it was but I Phil just kind of said it. It's like they're the Leafs of the West, except it's a goalie problem. And like you said, he's the runaway Vezina candidate, hands
Well, the
down.
last few seasons, they announced the Vezina finalists, and it's like, yeah, I get it. You have to go through the exercise of saying who to second and third, where I get it. You know what I mean?
But let's be real.
And now he's going to get the award.
The LA Kings would like to chime in on this Leafs of the West thing as well.
Fair. I compare Hellebuck to, and I don't want to deep dive. I'm watching our time, so we're already kind of at a time. But I said this to Amanda earlier. We were out for a drive, and I said, I'd be curious what Phil says about this. I compared Hellebuck to Matthews as if he was the goalie version of Matthews. When the big game hits, they just can't seem to get it done.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's Four Nations or it's a game 7 or elimination game, or it's like they don't show up. I don't understand. They can be the best player arguably in the league during the regular season.
And you know what's also very comparable with them? I didn't see Hellebuck when they got eliminated there this year, but last year, man,
American.
Well, but last year, man, like I remember his post-game interview after they just got eliminated, and they were like,
they thought he was great.
Yeah, they were asking him like, how do you rate your game and stuff like that? And he's like, well, I thought I played pretty good, I thought it. And they're like, well, you let 5 goals in like game 5 or game 4 or whatever it was, right? And they're like, that's not really playoff goaltending. Well, no, but my head was in a good space, and like it was just that. Like where
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Where is the fire?
And like
where is it?
Yeah. That series was the one that was like, what is happening? Because the story was Georgiev, who the Avs had, and they scored just like 7-something in the game 1, and Georgiev was terrible, and it was like, oh no, the Avs are going to get lit up and out in 4, and all of a sudden Georgiev clamps down, and then Hellebuck, I think they scored no less than 5 goals on him for like 3 or 4 games or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Like just destroyed him. And I remember that interview you're talking about where he's like, I think I played pretty well. And he was just like not really leaning into any of that, or he had no signs of like,
and then like,
crap.
As Leafs fans, like how many bad losses have we seen, Tyson, that like Matthews after the game has said this, and Gary, you've probably seen this too, like, like he just doesn't seem to have any, like, he's not pissed off, I guess, and when he should be, or at least he doesn't show it anyway.
Is it at all possible that if you grow up playing hockey in Salt Lake City, Utah, that maybe you just don't have that grit? I'm not trying to be an idiot, but here in Canada, like I'm just thinking of maritime hockey players, the few we've had make it. You look at even Nova Scotia with McKinnon, Crosby, Marchand. If you want to keep going back, Al McGuinness, and you know what I mean? Like you can name off these players. Dude, since the age of 12, they fought for every inch. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It was like, when do you allow hitting there? Oh, 12. It's like, excuse me? Do you know what I mean? Like it is. And then you see some of these leagues, and like Nyes went through the same camp. Nyes is a little grittier than Matthews. Went through the same camps that Matthews did, and it's like, it's drills and skills things and puck tricks and all these things. I'm not trying to be an idiot. And I don't want to, I know it's not like that everywhere. Like if you go to Boston College, you're going to get hit. Do you know what I mean? If you play in Michigan, you're going to get hit. But some of these camps, and like, it's like the Robertsons playing in LA. Do you know what I mean? Growing up there, and Matthews and Nyes and Cooley and some of these different players, like playing through these camps in Salt Lake City, Utah. I just don't want to be that guy. And I don't know is it an American, Canadian thing? Like, I'm not trying to be an idiot, but like Florida beats Toronto and the crowd's chanting USA. Their two gritty goal scorers were Canadian. Like, your captain's not from here and you're chanting USA. You know what I mean? Our captain's American, the one that's choking.
Yeah, it's interesting because it depends. Like, the Tkachuk brothers kind of carry enough of that anger and whatever, maybe, for the rest of the country. I don't know.
Dude, they had to for the whole team during Four Nations.
Yeah.
Honestly. Like, I'm not going to compare notes that way. It's not a talent issue. Canada won Four Nations. They barely won Four Nations. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'll be realistic. And they lost
you look at Trevor Zegras out in Anaheim, like that dude is
Trevor who?
He's a head case. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I don't want to go on that rant, and I'm not saying Canada's better than the US, because, like, talent-wise, they've got some crazy talent coming through the system. But depending on what system they went through in the US, I find, like, the grit is lacking. Like, I don't... And, like, Hellebuck, Phil, like, I almost feel the same way. It's like there's something about when it's the big one, when it's regular season, best goalie in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Everyone would agree on that, hands down. Mm-hmm. And then the playoffs hit and a big game hits. And if I have to choose between Hellebuck and Binnington, I'm taking Binnington.
Yeah, it's definitely a change, because if I think of, like, the Olympic teams from, 2000s, late 90s, when it was Keith Tkachuk, John LeClair, Darian Hatcher, just really tough to play against.
They had grit then.
Yeah, they were very tough to play
Don't
against.
tell me Jeremy Roenick didn't have grit. Do you know what I mean? He drove me bananas. Like, I don't know. And I just don't know what's changed. I don't know if you find, like, Gary and Phil's watched a lot of the Leafs this year. Matthews will not take a hit. Like, he will not. Like, he won't take a hit.
No.
He will turn and dump it and avoid the hit.
I think with the style of hockey now, though, that type of player is the more common player than the one who's going to grit it out.
Gary?
When you get up to the top six forwards.
I 100% agree.
There was like a line like 2014 or something where...
But it doesn't seem to marry well in the playoffs, which is why Florida can grind you right down to a powder. You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't seem to...
It starts with Paul Maurice, too, in Florida. Like, he very much drilled it into their heads. Hit them, hit them, hit them. And when we hit Game 7, they'll have nothing left. Like, there's a clip famously of him going around, like, behind the bench, cursing and swearing at them to tell them to hit them and down low in the corner, just before that very reason right there. And
yeah, like, you might lose the first two, but you're going to grind them right to a pulp.
And that's exactly what happened with the Leafs.
Might have been Paul Maurice himself that opened that door on Nylander coming by the... I don't know.
Yeah. Anyways.
Yep. On that note,
I got to get out of this t-shirt. I think I got this about 10 or 15 pounds ago.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Well, that's our...
I thought you were going to, like, say, because you're now, like, a Stars fan or something, you jump on the...
Tune in next week to see who Gary cheers for next.
Whoever wins, I've been there the whole time since day one.
If he comes next week wearing a Rod Brindamore jersey, I don't even know what to do. All right, lads.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll have a few games by the time we record next week, and we'll see what is going on in conference finals.
Exactly. Have a good one.
Yeah. See you, boys.
Later.